Voters rejected Proposition 6, which would have banned slave labor in the state's prisons.
Yeah, that ballot measure lost by about 7%, even though a similar one in Nevada passed by 20 points. Prop 6 would have outlawed slavery in California in its prisons, gotten rid of the practice of forcing inmates to work in involuntary servitude. Inmates would still have been able to work behind bars, but they would not have been able to be forced to do jobs against their will and for little or no money. Prop 6 lost, even though there was no organized opposition or campaign against it. For more on this, we're joined live today on the KCBS Ring Central Newsline by Carmen-Nicole Cox. She's an attorney with ACLU California Action. Among other things, she's been a deputy DA in San Joaquin County, Deputy Legal Affairs Secretary for Governor Jerry Brown. She is an adjunct professor at the McGeorge School of Law at the University of the Pacific. Thank you so much for being with us. All right, so what do you think happened here? Why didn't California voters say yes to ending involuntary servitude in the prisons?
Thank you so much for having me here on State of California. Actually, I'll start by saying we are disappointed with the outcome, we being the Yes on Prop 6 campaign, but we're not derailed. Just to be clear, while we got just over 5 million votes in favor of Proposition 6 in 2024, in 2022, we failed to get this measure on the ballot at all. So we are actually celebrating momentum while also there's a great deal of disappointment. We believe that in addition to the sentiment that drove a significant number of Californians to vote for President-elect Trump, that impacted Proposition 6 for sure. Also, what impacted Proposition 6 is we weren't able to reach as many of the voters to have the conversation we needed to have. I appreciate you all framing Proposition 6 as ending slavery, but you'll note that most journalism before votes were cast did not frame it as slavery. You'll also note that the ballot guide, the ballot and title summary, did not frame it as slavery. So it was necessary for us to have a conversation because most folks don't even know what involuntary servitude means.
Yep.
So that's probably one of the biggest pieces.
Yeah, that was my next question, whether folks actually understood what they were voting for. So it sounds like you are committed to bringing this before voters again. Are you going to put slavery in the initiative this time around, next time around?
You know, so the way you get your ballot and title summary is not entirely up to the advocate. It's about the language that ultimately ends up in the bill itself. This year, our author was Assemblymember Wilson, and she negotiated language with the governor in order to get us out of the legislature. So the next iteration, if it does in fact go through a legislative referral to the ballot, we will need to pay much closer attention to the language that ultimately makes it out of the legislature, because we don't have control over how the ballot and title summary is constructed. The AG's office is going to look directly at the language of the legislation.
Yeah, the initiative language did not contain the word slavery, and my understanding is part of that is because slavery is already illegal in California, so they called this involuntary servitude. But hey, if you're making somebody work against their will for no money, to me, that is slavery. I mean, do you think voters overwhelmingly approved Proposition 36, and they're in a generally, tough on crime mood? Do you think that Prop 6 also fell victim to that backlash against criminal justice reform?
So I think two things. One, slavery has not ended in California. Involuntary servitude is simply a form of slavery. It is something that it is a euphemism. It is a phrase, a term of art that we feel more comfortable with, so that we don't have to publicly state that we are exploiting human talent, labor, and skill at the expense of their rehabilitation and for the benefit of some third party, not for themselves. So we absolutely have not ended slavery in California. And that's actually not why the language didn't say slavery, because it was called the End Slavery in California Act when the Secretary of State summarized it. It said slavery. So just want to be clear there. I think it's very important that we're clear. Involuntary servitude is slavery. And then secondarily, absolutely, Prop 36 had some impact. It cast a shadow that we could not escape, because it gave the rhetoric in support of Proposition 36 suggested yet again that the best way to deal with societal ills is to incarcerate, dehumanize, belittle, and deny the kinds of rehabilitation and treatment that actually leave us all better off. We absolutely suffered because of that.
What do you think the defeat of Proposition 6 means for the tens of thousands of inmates who are behind bars in California's prison system?
My greatest disappointment is absolutely that those folks inside who worked so hard to tell their stories, to mobilize their own families, that they didn't walk away with the result that they deserve. I don't think, though, particularly because if we think about the folks who are inside, and unfortunately some of us think about the folks who are inside, we know that they're disproportionately brown and black. And that is the reason why we don't vote for humanization inside of our jails and prisons. But those folks, black and brown folks, we have been fighting and litigating our humanity for centuries here in this country. And so we won't give up. We know that, it's 2024. I'm a 44-year-old black gay woman. If it weren't for folks fighting all the way through the 60s and 70s, I wouldn't have even been able to vote on Proposition 6 this year. So folks are not giving up because they know that it takes this kind of fight in order to overcome entrenched systems of oppression.
This is a little off topic, but since you're someone who focuses on criminal justice reform and justice in California, you probably heard that President-elect Trump today chose Matt Gaetz to be his attorney general, a man with a long history of accusations of ethics violations. I'm just wondering what you think of that might mean for the tone and tenor of the Federal Department of Justice.
And, it is a little bit off topic, and so I want to take care not to misstate, but it is my recollection that this gentleman was just under investigation for sexual misconduct by this same entity, no? So I think that speaks volumes, that we should be very concerned, we should be mobilizing, we should be paying attention. It is our civic duty not just to vote, but to pay attention on the other side of votes so that we know what is the impact. I'm terrified. I'll be honest. I am terrified that Matt Gaetz and folks like Kristi Noem and Tom Homan or this new border czar, that these folks are going to engage in every civil rights violation they think they can get away with. I'm terrified.
All right. Thank you for your time. Yeah, Matt Gaetz, he is still under investigation. Long list of ethics violations, including sex trafficking of minors. You're absolutely right. Carmen-Nicole Cox, an attorney with ACLU Cal Action. Thanks for being with us today. You can hear the state of California. Today 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 you can hear the state of California.